Itauma there?
Stunning win. Explosive display. We said it was going to either be a quick fight in the first 3 rounds, a lot quicker than everyone expected. But if it went past 3 or 4 rounds, it would have been a more challenging fight. You know? But he showed what he can do in the ring tonight. Great display.
Moses Itauma, as expected. Dillian just didn't allow he wanted to be in there. He's just too. All the styles all wrong. Do you know what I mean? Early on, as we said, the first couple of rounds, just too sharp. And Dillian's just too old. You know.
You think Dillian should call it a day now, Edward?
Oh yeah, that was just thank you very much boxing. And that's why I was surprised he took the fight in the first place. But I think, you know, you see he's at the end of his career. But listen, respect to Moses, he's super sharp, but, you know.
Is this superstardom for Moses Itauma?
It's a long way to go. You've got to fight a live, active heavyweight. You know what I mean? Or like these kind of guys, you know. Like, he's a brilliant talent. You know, excellent skill, but you're not really going to know till you've got someone who's active and live in the corner. But he's a brilliant talent.
If you were the promoter of Moses Itauma, who would you be looking at next?
I don't know, he's just got to move up, but sooner or later you're going to have to fight someone sort of who's active and live. But he's good enough to beat those kind of people anyway. But I'm looking forward to seeing it. He's got a massive future.
It was brutal, and this is what I feared going in. I don't like. I'm a bit. You know, when fighters give their all to the career, and you watch them throughout the years, having wars and giving everything, like Dillian Whyte against Chisora. You saw the action with the first with the AJ fight. You look at him throughout all his career. He always goes out there, gives everything, has a tear up. He's exciting. You know, he's a big character, big personality. And then when they get to a stage of the career where you feel as though it's that fight where where it's kind of like it's way too much for him, and it's going to be, you know, quite a nasty ending for him, a nasty ending to a career. I kind of I was worried for Dillian going into that this would be that fight, and it was. I mean, that you don't get as it can't be any worse than that to punctuate a career, to end a career.
Let's talk about you. What's going on? 30 days, 90 days? What's going on? Usyk, what's going on?
I think Usyk wants more time. He said he's got an injury, and I guess if he wants more time, maybe it's more time to spend with his family and relax, and he deserves it. But when he's ready, we should make a deal happen. I'd love to fight him and challenge for all the belts. It'd be awesome.
Do you think he'll vacate?
I think he's just buying more time and looking at the options he has. And if he does vacate, then I'll be.
Is Dubois an option if he vacates? Dubois
pulled out of the first fight. He sort of robbed me of my world title opportunity. It could be a fight down the line. Who knows?
The world just saw an electric showdown between the young, the fierce Moses Itauma, and none other than Dillian Whyte. We have some pros' reactions to the fight collected for you. The crowd was electric just as it watched the unbeaten 20-year-old southpaw go toe-to-toe against the 37-year-old veteran. This fight has gained hype from the day at first, and before the showdown they had a fiery press conference as well. During the press conference, Moses hinted at a hint of deception going on. He mentioned one of the principles of the 48 laws of power, the tactic of pretending to be harmless to a stronger adversary into a trap. It was the way in why Itauma thought Whyte might be trying, but presently he added hastily that it mattered so very little to him.
I think there's a rule in the 48 laws of power where you play a sheep to catch a wolf. And I feel like that's what Dillian Whyte's doing. If he is, if he's not, it doesn't matter, because I'm gonna bring the heat Saturday night.
I don't know, man, but there ain't no sheep around there. There's no sheep around there. There's a lot of wolves around there, but no sheep.
When commenting about his thoughts before the fight, Dillian Whyte was moderate yet self-assured. He never provided details on anything tactically related in there, but instead asked fans to keep off until Saturday, when his soul's plan will be in full effect in the ring. Whyte graphically told everyone that he has been making this his approach all his life, because his single goal is to enter into a fight, to establish a way of winning and leave nothing in the ring.
We decided to find out, I'm not gonna sit here and say this and say that, but you know what I come to do. All this show come to fight, and nothing changed. I always try and find a way to get a victory, and I always try and give my all in the ring, and nothing's changed.
Since the beginning, the bout was deemed a mismatch by critics. The undefeated 12-0 record with 10 knockouts on his record, Itauma was touted as the next big man in the division, but he had scored some memorable wins in the face of little opposition, and Whyte, with all his reputation, was regarded by many as a stepping stone and not a challenge. Spencer Oliver saw the significance of the moment to Moses Itauma by referring to it as one of the stages in the career of the young heavyweight boxer. He talked of how Itauma had conducted the week leading up to him taking it in his stride, though he had so much expectation over his head. Oliver noted that in his first fight in Saudi Arabia, Itauma had been an undercard, but that this was not the case now because he was not only being set up as a headliner, but he was to be fighting an experienced campaigner in Dillian Whyte.
Moses Itauma, and he's dealt with this week very, very well. You know, there's a lot of pressure on his shoulders. Yes, he's boxed out here in Saudi Arabia, but not as a top of the bill fighter against an old war horse as well in Dillian Whyte. Dillian Whyte has been very quiet, very reserved, thinking that people like ourselves have been, you know, disrespecting his name by not saying that he's going to win this contest and that actually he's going to lose it inside the distance.
Both analysts and fans had been swift to dismiss the relevance of Whyte and had stressed his age, lack of action, and decay. The feeling was that Whyte was now fluff opposition, that type of pro that had a cool legacy name but was no serious challenge to a fast-tracked youngster. The promotion had previously been accused by one loud boxing media of fast-tracking Itauma with Whyte as a sacrificial lamb, with the sole purpose of generating publicity about the emerging prospect. Spencer Oliver talked of the psychological aspect of the buildup and said that at this point it was all mind games. He respected the fact that Dillian Whyte had had sane experience, having been at the top stages in the sport, suffered losses and overcome them. Oliver posed a question about whether Whyte was gaining strength on being written off or whether he could ever get up to the occasion or not.
Listen, it's all about the mind games now. Dillian's got that experience. He's been on this big stage before. He's been there, seen it, done it. He's been written off. Has he fed off that, you know, or is he going to deliver? He's slimmed down in weight. I said it before, you know, the slimmest I've seen him look as a professional. The first time I've ever seen him with abs, actually. He knows it's last chance saloon.
As a reaction, Gareth A. Davies acknowledged that the attitude depicted by Whyte was a sign of high respect towards Moses Itauma, as he felt he was confronting an outstanding young talent. Davies believed Whyte would lay it all on the line, but still believed Itauma to win fast and definitely.
I think Dillian really, really respects this young man. I think he believes that he's up against a very, very brilliant prodigy. I think he'll come out and give his all, but you know what? I haven't changed my mind about this. I think Moses Itauma is going to be a quick winner in this fight. To me, Moses looks the bigger man. I like to see Dillian getting stuck into him now, Spencer.
Buddy McGirt retrospectively commented on the mindset of Dillian Whyte as he approached the fight, and he said that Whyte did not need any additional adrenaline to get excited. He emphasized that Whyte knows well what is happening, that Whyte is being set up against Moses Itauma as the underdog who is supposed to lose, but that Whyte is here to shake up the game and spoil those plans.
You know what the crazy part is? He didn't need that type of motivation. Dillian knows what it is. He knows what it is. He's not stupid. He knows what it is. He knows they're bringing him in to get beat, but his goal is to change their plans.
McGirt went on to illustrate how the knockout record established by Moses Itauma is excellent, but does not offer too much that can be evaluated tactically. He told me that what he looks forward to is fighting Itauma when he will have to adjust to it in the ring, where he will not be blowing his opponents in 1 or 2 rounds.
No disrespect to the kid, of course, but he's knocked everybody out 2-3 rounds, so what is there to study? But I'm gonna study knockouts? No, I don't want to study knockouts. I want to see him in a fight where he's got to make adjustments and he's got pressure on him, and then you can see. But just knocking everybody out, I'm not going to watch that.
McGirt also emphasized that Dillian Whyte has to lean on IQ and not blatant aggression, as any impulsiveness would present a steep price to pay against a dangerous, youthful fighter like Moses Itauma. He added, "The best and the smartest. He's got to be very smart in this fight, can't be reckless." Andy Lee considered the career of Dillian Whyte when it was said that the veteran fought against some of the best heavyweights of his era, but Lee also indicated that Whyte had not been doing a great deal in the last couple of years, and that his last couple of performances were nothing too outstanding. Whyte was 37 years old at the time and was going up against a young, active southpaw that was knocking out almost every opponent he had, so a question was raised as to what was left in Whyte's tank. tank.
You know, Dillian Whyte has been there and done it. He's fought the best of his era. Now, he's been a bit inactive, and these last couple of fights, maybe not the most impressive. So that's where the question marks about Dillian comes from. He's 37 years old, and with that inactivity coming up against, you know, an active young fighter, a southpaw who's knocked everybody out really, all barring one.
Lee then switched his attention to Moses Itauma, conceding his domination but pretending about the quality of his opponent so far. Whereas Itauma had beaten almost all the boxers, Lee had argued that most of the opponents were not of the caliber of someone like Whyte. This battle, he had, was to become the ultimate determiner of how good Itauma was, as well as being able to tell whether Whyte was able to act like the fighter he used to be during his prime.
Yeah, these are the questions. How good is Moses Itauma? Because, to be honest, his opposition up to this point, although he starched them all, they've been a little below par. Certainly not on the level of Dillian Whyte. And the question around Dillian is, what does he have left? Is he still the Dillian Whyte that we knew from all those years ago?
Mark Tibbs was confident when talking about the mentality of Dillian Whyte, as he declared the fighter is a tried and tested warrior with a fine instinct to go with extensive ring experience. He lauded Whyte as being able to withstand the mental pressure of the lead-ups of the big fights, referring to streetwise in boxing terms and not being carried away by external judgments. But again, it was a big test that lay before him, a confrontation with the youthful and dangerous Moses Itauma.
He's a real fighting man, and he's a man of experience. He fighting terms, he's wise, yeah. But it's a difficult task against Moses Itauma. But real fighting men don't let this build up, and people asked him, "What do you expect of him?" etc. He's a real fighting guy. He's a real fighting guy, and he wants to go and do his job. And I get it. But he's got a difficult job.
He made mention of Whyte having a proven pedigree, with him having reigned as one interim world champion and years of sharing the ring with some of the biggest names in the game. That was the time when Whyte was on an unbeaten streak, and he consistently fought and managed high-level competition that was recalled by Tibbs. He's been at the top. He's been an interim world champion before, and he's mixed with the top guys up there. He's handled himself with them guys. I was around him for 11 unbeaten fights, and well, as I say, world interim champion #1.
Etc. But I'd be very surprised if I'd love to see a fresh Dillian Whyte on Saturday night. I'd love to see a fresh Dillian Whyte, because he's certainly got a fresh young lion in Moses Itauma.
Moving to the present day, Tanaka admitted that the fact that he had spent several years at the top might have cost him his toll. He underlined that it was not a prop as a critique, but an eye-opener to reality. Not to underestimate the power of Itauma, his wish was to witness a rejuvenated and fully charged Whyte come fight night to take on head-on the determination and drive of a young contender out to make a name.
I think there's a little bit of wear and tear. Only I'm not judging him, but I ain't seen him or been around him for since the Marius Wack fight.
The mismatch story continued to dominate, but under it, an interesting structure had unfolded. The history of Itauma, the story of talent, power, confidence, was contrasted with the resilience, veteran instincts, and the desire to become relevant in the case of Whyte. One of the fans had summed it up by observing that the fight could just be the answer to the question: could a young boxer deliver an uppercut when an elite boxer hurled his bombs? Adam Catterall reflected on the high stakes surrounding Dillian Whyte's clash with Moses Itauma, pointing out that a victory could completely change the trajectory of Whyte's career. He noted that beating Itauma would put Whyte back among the top names in the division and open the door to major fights once again. Catterall praised the matchmaking, saying it was a perfect stylistic pairing on paper, and predicted that the fans were in for a real spectacle.
Regarding the eye test, and he's got an opportunity at the weekend to get a more commercial name on his resume, and in the other corner, obviously from a Dillian point of view, he's got the opportunity to derail that train. And if he can derail that train, then he'll get himself back at that top table and talking about some big fights. So yeah, I think On paper, the matchmaking of this fight is absolutely fantastic, and I think the fans are in for a bit of a treat.
Adam Catterall talked about the fact that he really likes Moses Itauma because of his unusual style of fighting in the heavyweight division, because his movements are those of a much lighter fighter. He has been impressed by the footwork, speed, and precision of the pre-punch delivery setup by Itauma, and has described the style as something special, as a rare and thrilling thing to see in boxing. Adam Catterall said, "Now, for me watching him, he is moving like a middle super middleweight in the heavyweight division, which is frightening. His feet are beautifully placed, his hand speed is electric, and the way that he's setting things and firing those shots, it's beautiful to watch." Spencer Oliver also shared his belief that Moses Itauma has what it takes to get the job done if he enters the ring performing at the peak of his abilities. He suggested that if the young heavyweight can bring his full potential into the fight, he will have enough to overcome the challenge posed by the experienced Dillian Whyte.
If Moses is as good as what we think he is, he gets the job done on the 16th of August.
I know Moses, I've seen a lot of him, and yeah, he's a knockout specialist as well, isn't he? So.
He is, mate. So yeah, people have not heard his name. You will be hearing his name a lot more. He's 20 years of age. Really? You can't believe it. It's like Mike Tyson had that thing about him way back when, and you're saying, is he too young? Don't push him too soon. But you go, sometimes they're that good. You have to let them go. Yeah. And I think this is like a coming of age fight for Moses in many ways. Like I say, Frank's taken that gamble to say, look, putting him in. Dillian's a world-class, dangerous heavyweight, but maybe just past his best, and that's that calculate.
By the time the bell did ring, both men were not only attempting to win, they were burdened with the weight of stories, one of promise of greatness, and the cruel spin of the final throws of a veteran. Although critics had dubbed a mismatch, the tension, expertise, and stakes had produced a plot that surpassed records. Such as boxing, such as an honest contest, the result is never known, and so history looks and is ever present in the arena. Buddy McGirt has set a clear plan to face Dillian Whyte, knowing about the special threat Moses Itauma poses to the ring. He added that Itauma is not only a puncher, as he is fast, athletic, and highly skilled. Although he feels that Whyte should make the fight physical and challenge the young opponent to his toughness, he also demanded that each move is well calculated to outsmart and outlast his challenger.
Gotta be smart on this one. Can't make no mistake. This guy's fast, he's athletic, he can punch. The kid can fight. I mean, the kid Moses can fight. So we got to make it a dog fight, but we got to be smart about it.
If there's one thing that Dillian's been given credit for in his career, is that dog in him. The dog that he can go to the trenches, right?
What a fight we have just seen. A clash of generations. The fearless appetite of Moses Itauma head on with the tried and tested spirit of Dillian Whyte. It was a tension-filled fight in front of the opening bell to the last moment. Whyte was the grit, the experience, and the ring smarts. Itauma was the speed, power, and desire of a man in pursuit of destiny. So the question still ends up being, was this fight the dawning of a new era with Moses taking the controls, or the re-emergence of an old-timer who is unwilling to retire? Tell us your opinion in the comments, like that video, and subscribe to see all the biggest post-fight reactions and analysis.